Hey Raven fam, welcome back to Raven Gaming's Game of the Week. The game of the week this week was Outriders, as chosen by me, Guilty Grey, on episode 26 of our podcast. So this is an excerpt from episode 27 of us reviewing the game and what we thought the hours that we played it over the week. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like, subscribe to hear some more next week, see what our game of the week will be then and what we thought of it there. But for now, enjoy the video. Alright, so that's release is done. Game of the week. So, the game of the week for this week, previously done, as we mentioned earlier, is Outriders. Kikosti, tell me your thoughts on Outriders.
Yeah, I mean, I was. I've got to be honest. Like we've discussed Outriders a couple of times in the last couple of weeks on the podcast, obviously because the demo came out. Like the way they were doing it, but I think I was just not. I wasn't bothered about playing it, but I just because it was one of those things I had to do. Maybe I just wasn't excited as of it. So as I was going through the demo, I was like, okay, here we go, and then I was like, that's pretty cool. And then you'd get through it a little bit more, and I'd be like, that's pretty cool too. And by the end of it, it feels like it's got a mix of a lot of different stuff, like Mass Effects, like what were we calling it? We're calling it Destiny, Gears of Destiny, or
Gears of Destiny, or Destiny 4.
Yeah, in some places it kind of reminds me of Dragon Inquisition a little bit. Obviously, Gears of War is probably the closest thing you can say it's the closest to, because it has a cover system, third-person shooter. But then also in a similar manner to Borderlands and games along that vein, where enemies have levels. So obviously you have stronger enemies, and you can tell because their level is on their health bar. Each hit does DPS, and that can be seen whenever you shoot your enemies.
Yeah.
It has that RPG element to it, but really cool game. I like the story. I like you show up. Obviously, I say spoilers. It's a freaking demo. Humanity has died. Earth is dead. You've landed on a new planet to start anew. You are an outrider. There was a group of outriders who were died. So you're actually a mercenary who has now been hired to do their job for them, because obviously the people they actually wanted are dead. This seems to be a through line. You're not good enough.
Yeah,
Daddy never
basically.
loved you. Anyway, they set up camp. They pulled the tree out the way. That's what I like. I like the way they're setting up camp as well. And I'm just trying to think where you go from there. I mean, the combat's really cool. I like the switching between weapons, the rifle and the dual pistols. I just like the set. I just really like the setting. Not to go too far into it. I mean, what did you make of it, Greg?
Yeah, it's exactly the same as you, really. I got massive. Did you ever play Bulletstorm?
Yes.
It has such big Bulletstorm vibes, and Bulletstorm has obviously took a lot from Gears, so it's definitely on the same vein. So you've got obviously the mechanics and the stuff. It even kind of looks a bit like Gears. It's got the bulky armor. It's got a guy who has, for some unknown reason, a cowboy hat and a trench coat in space.
And you're not going to bring up his mustache.
And the mustache. I mean, he is a full-on Texan. Like, if you've ever seen a Texan stereotype ever, this guy, right? That's it. That's all you need. It's an interesting game with very unusual kind of a mixture of things, because it plays like Gears, but for all intents and purposes, it's Destiny, right?
Yeah.
Even down to the kind of, so as you progress through this kind of prologue-y tutorial stage, you discover you've landed on this planet. The planet's not very nice. You get zapped by some space rain, lightning stuff.
Yeah.
Kills your friends, keeps you alive for some reason. You start doing weird things to you. You get betrayed, blah blah. You get injured. Next thing you know, you're thrown into cryo sleep, and you wake up 31 years later. And
Yes.
the game takes place then 31 years later. You've still got your friends and they're older, the people you meet when you first land, and you're this thing called an altered. There are other altereds in the world, and there's people with special abilities as well who aren't altered, and you kind of come across those and fight them the gameplay isn't all just shooting either. You know, you've got these powers that you can use, and they vary depending on the classes. So you've got the 4 classes. I think we said it was Technomancer, Pyromancer, something or another, and a tank. And we can't seem to remember what that third one was, but that's actually the one I played as. So I have no idea how I forgot the name of it.
It's
But
the
it's kind
hit
of
and
like,
run.
yeah, it's kind of like a shadowy time space manipulator one. So you can like teleport, slow time down, and you have some weird like blade attack. It's very strange. But you got these things, and you use them as you go through the game, and you kind of have to figure out combat. I think at first I was very much like, oh, this is Gears of War combat. You know, I was running up to things, hiding and then shooting, and then I got to a boss fight, and I realized that I had to then start to use all of my abilities kind of in conjunction with each other to get a result. You know, I wanted to beat this boss, but he was pretty difficult. Killed me a few times, and in the end, I was like, well, if I teleport behind him here, and I use this thing, and I slow down time here, and I shoot with this gun, or I do this thing, it gives me an advantage. I can get better headshot damage, all this kind of stuff. And I had to do all that to win the battle. I couldn't just brute force it, which is what at first I kind of was expecting I could do. Because you look at it and you think, yeah, you know, brute force is your way through this, but it's not. Yeah, and as for a demo, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
I've not finished it yet. I want to. Do you actually want to finish it? Which is surprising. It's not a game I actually want to play all the way through. I don't think it's a game I play for its story. You know, I think it's very much along the lines of Destiny, where the story is pretty vague. It has a story. You know, you're on this planet. You've got this war happening. There is a hub area. I'd like to see if the game, as you progress, the hub area changes. So for me, I always kind of judge these games by the hub area. I don't know why. And my kind of impression of it is that you should be able to do things in the real world which alter the hub. So if you're playing a game, you're in a dystopian future and things are bad, what I want is, if I'm turning the tides of this world or this war, I want to see that having an effect on my base camp. I want to see it getting better. I want to see it getting brighter, bolder, more people, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I was gonna make an Assassin's Creed analogy there, like when you have the town that gets better, the more you kind of do outside the world, the more when you come back to your hub, it's expanded and become better.
Yeah, I want to see that new people joining and
it helps with progression of story.
And I think it also helps with your own sense of kind of achievement. I think I always kind of go back to Payday when I first played Payday when it was first released, Payday 2. It gave you this room like a hideout, and I was like, oh, amazing! You know, I'll get stuff into this hideout, which will look cool. And then they never implemented that at the beginning. It is implemented now, but at the beginning it weren't. So there was no incentive for me to go and do certain things because I couldn't go like, oh, that's cool. If I do this, I get this thing back in my house because it just never changed. It's like kind of how these houses in Cyberpunk, you've got that room for the display for guns.
Yeah.
You can display guns there. There are guns you get in the game which will go there once you unlock them.
Yeah.
I was no incentive for me to do that. It's just a very small thing, and it didn't tell you what guns they were.
Yeah.
But if you were the type of person who was hunting for those guns, I can imagine how cool that would be to come back and see them all laid out there. So, you know, if they do that kind of thing, I'll be very pleased. I remember that voice. But all in all, yeah, it's a really good game.
Yeah, I think it was a really good way to get people interested in it. It's a good demo, very good demo. I would be interested in, like I said, we didn't get a chance to actually co-op and play it together, so hopefully maybe we get a chance to do that together. That may be something that brings more interest. I wonder how big a crew you could get. Because also with different classes, it kind of seems like they, like we say in the tank, they also one that seemed to be a medic support role as well. So yeah. you could play as a crew, play different roles, something similar to Destiny maybe even. Not Destiny, Division. That's what I was meant to say. We already compared it to Destiny once. But yeah, really good demo. Like I said, they're just the more I got into it, the more I enjoyed it, the more I liked what the story was and where it was taking place, and that's what gets you invested. Because there are a million games that could be cover shooters, RPG looters, but it's got to have a hook, something that catches you in it. That Outriders has got that. It's got a good little hook in it.
Yeah, and this game kind of came out of nowhere. Like I didn't. It's not been on my radar at all.
No.
Only until this demo dropped, and then I'm like, oh, actually, yeah, this is pretty cool. And like I said, if it comes out on Games Pass, I will pick it up. But I don't think I'll pick it up if it doesn't come out on Games Pass. Not to the detriment of the game, but it's just I know that I won't play. It's a game that I would drop in and out of, so I feel like it would be a bit of a waste of money for me to spend 50 quid on a game that I know I'm not gonna. There's not a campaign that I'm gonna start from beginning to end. There's no chance that I'm actually gonna play every night online with you guys. So that kind of stuff pulls me away from games. So that's the only reason why I wouldn't buy it. But I think if it was there on Games Pass, I'd definitely be, you know what, should we jump on this? Spend a few hours banging out a few missions and then enjoy myself and then just leave it for a few weeks and then do it again. So yeah, that's what I would do if it's on Games Pass. I'd definitely pick it up. If you guys want to pick it up, go give out the demo. Go try the demo. There's no time on the demo. There is a cap on the levels. There's also a cap on a thing called the world tier, which gives you different difficulties. So world tier, you get more rewards with higher difficulty. The higher the world tier is, you can drop the world tier down. If you're finding it challenging for a point, you can drop it back down to 1, which is the starting tier, and it kind of goes up and it gives you better loot rewards and stuff, but also then harder enemies. So you're gonna have that kind of risk reward kind of thing going on there. And the game gives you, like I said, you can get up to, I think it's level 17, 7, something like that. But it doesn't let you go all the way. But I think you mentioned that it might be progression carried on. Is that right?
Yeah. Progression carried on to full game if you get the full game.
So that's amazing. I mean, this is cool because this is the kind of stuff that they used to do that they don't do anymore. And it's nice to see them doing it again. And I think, yeah, keep it up. Well done, Square Enix, and well done, People Can Fly. We know you're listening. Big fans, I know. Keep it up. Good work. Clap, clap. Hats off to you. All that stuff.
Well done.